Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Leaving California podcast. I'm your host, Cherie Harrington, and I'm a real estate agent here in San Diego. And today I have my friend Kevin Richter on from the Salt Lake City, Utah area. And I'm super excited to have him on. Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you in a second, but I just had a client that moved from Vista, California, up to your area about a year ago and bought new construction. He loves it there. And I have a couple other people in my sphere right now that are thinking about moving to your area. So very excited to pick your brain. So can you tell us a little bit about your business and what areas you cover and all that good stuff?
Yeah, certainly. So I've been in the business for a little over 17 years, actually coming up on 17 years. And I actually moved from California. I was in California 14 years, moved here in 2006, got licensed in 2007. And during my career, I ran a team of about 16 people for a while. While we did the team, I ran the sales side. My business partner ran the operations side of things. So with my team and we've been involved in a little over 1,200 transactions. Personally, I've been involved in a little over 700 since I've been in the business. So
Wow.
yeah, done a lot of business, but it's through networking with great agents around the country. That's been a huge part of what's made it such an amazing business.
That's awesome. What part of California did you live in?
So I lived in at Vandenberg Air Force Base, where kind of California kind of makes a little turn. That's where I went to high school.
Lompoc. Is that the?
Lompoc, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I actually lived down Vandenberg Air Force Base,
Oh,
which is
nice.
right there by Lompoc. But a high school I went to was in Vandenberg Village, which is right next to Lompoc as well. Went to
Okay.
college at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and then moved to the Bay Area and worked there in IT for about 10 years. So
Oh, wow. Okay. So
yeah,
you moved from the Bay Area to
yeah,
Utah. That
that's right.
seems like that would be a big culture shock. So you're a good
Yeah,
person to talk to about this.
that's
So
right.
I always like to, when I'm talking to people, kind of talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of moving out of state. There's a lot of reasons that people would move, right? They could have a job relocation, be trying to get closer to family, trying to get a better cost of living, political reasons. So I'm finding, and I think you're on my Leaving California Facebook page, that most people that leave are happy with their decision, but there are some that are not. And some of them regret it immediately. Some of them, it takes a few months. I have some friends that moved to Florida. They bought a house and they're like, "Get me out of here. I want to come
Oh,
back." So I'm trying to help people understand like what kind of homework they need to do before they decide to up and leave the state, and like what is your why? Are you angry? Maybe anger is not a good reason to leave. Or, if it is, then make sure that you've done your homework first. So can
yeah.
you tell us, since you've lived in both areas, can you tell us a little bit about how the housing market is there compared to here, and what people can expect?
Sure, sure. And I guess as far as the housing market, I'm not, super dialed into what it is out in California now, but certainly when we moved here, houses were way cheaper than they are in California. And that's the comment that I get. I've helped, probably last year, 30% of my business was relocation from California, and it was probably a little higher the year before that. So a lot of the comments I get from people are they're looking to um, move somewhere that's safer, that's a lower cost of living, and we certainly do have a lot cheaper market than a lot of what you get out in California. Obviously, depending on the area, right? But
Right.
the closer to the populated areas you are, the higher the prices typically get. And that's the same here in Utah as well. As the closer you get to Salt Lake City, prices tend to go up. There are a few exceptions to that. For example, you move further up the mountain, things are more expensive. You move further out away from the cities where there's more urban sprawl, and maybe you have to commute a little bit, then things are cheaper. So,
Okay.
but
What would you say the average price is? So it sounds like Salt Lake is the more expensive area, right?
well,
Or the mountain area.
yes and no. I mean, there's certain areas in Salt Lake that are certainly higher priced. So you get up around the Capitol, around the University of Utah, and you get up onto those what they call the benches, which is further up the mountain where you have better views and things like that. Those are higher priced communities, and you can't touch anything under $1 million in a lot of those areas. But then you get down on the the flat area, the plains areas, and then you can get something a lot more reasonably priced.
What do you consider reasonably priced? So just to give
Well,
you an idea, like San Diego right now, the median home price is about $1 million, and
yeah,
that doesn't get you much, which is
yeah.
sad to say now, but that's kind of the state of our housing market right now.
Yeah, so in some of the cheaper areas, like if you want a single family detached home, a starter home, maybe 1,500 square feet, then you're in the 400 to 450 range in some of the starter areas.
Okay.
Um, so if you want to get a townhome or a condo, I mean, you can be in the 250 to 400 range depending on how big it is and where you want that to be. Um,
Okay.
but the other thing that we have going on here is we've got some economic things happening in Utah that are pretty dramatic, over the past 10 years. One is called the Silicon Slopes. From California, you've probably heard of Silicon Valley, obviously. Silicon Slopes is something um, that they kind of coined, playing off of Silicon Valley, in that they have a lot of high tech companies moving into that area. The
Oh,
epicenter of that is just south of Salt Lake City in an area called Lehi, and the average tech wage, last time I looked, was roughly double the average non-tech wage. So if you take all the tech wages out and average everything, and then you take just the tech wages, it's roughly double. And so that's really had a dramatic impact on values around that Silicon Slopes area.
okay.
And then on the north side of Salt Lake, about 30 minutes north, we have Hill Air Force Base, and historically they've added about 4.5 to 5 billion to the local economy. Um, and then back in 2020, they got a huge contract from the federal government, um, and that was a 20 billion contract over 8 years, and it was supposed to be something like $90 billion over 20 years or something like that. So it's a pretty big I guess infusion of cash to the local market, which really brought a lot of jobs. Northrop Grumman, I think, brought 5,000 alone,
Oh, wow.
and then all the other companies that were ancillary, supporting that effort. It's really dramatically impacted the area. So I guess you talk about the good, the bad, and ugly. The great thing is, for people that have gotten the real estate market, house prices more than doubled, and in some cases, and sometimes even more than that. Um, Traffic has gotten a lot worse,
Mhm. Yeah.
but not compared to California, right?
Yeah.
So maybe rush hour, instead of if there's no traffic, you're on the weekend and it takes you half an hour to get somewhere. With rush hour, maybe it's 45 minutes, right? So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's nothing
Not
like.
double or triple your time.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I mean, it's still pretty ridiculous, um, you know, compared to, or I guess not very ridiculous compared to what it is in California.
Right.
Same thing for like crime, right? Some people ask me, hey, what are the crime statistics in Utah? Where are some safe areas in Utah? And I say, oh, where are you from? California. Yeah, the state of Utah.
You're like, it's all safe. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I say that's tongue in cheek. There's some
Right.
areas that I wouldn't want to probably go at night, but there's not really anywhere I can think of that I wouldn't feel safe driving at night here in Utah.
Okay.
There's some places in California I wouldn't want to drive at night.
Right.
So,
Right. Totally.
it's definitely not as I guess from those negative standpoints, it still hasn't reached some of those high populated areas around the country, some of the bigger cities. Um, but what you have going for it is, it's got a great job market. Unemployment's at 2.8%. I think the national average is 3.6, 3.7, something like that. So I think we're the eighth lowest unemployment in the nation. Um, the job pictures here are great. It's they've got as far as the national numbers goes, Utah is, um, I guess, sorry, I'm thinking about the national parks. So we've got 63 national parks in the country. Five of them are in Utah. 40 of those are in the West. So you've got a great location for accessing a lot of recreation. If you
Mhm.
like skiing, if you like any kind of outdoor activities, anything to do with the mountains, that's a great place for that. Um, Oh, I know what I was going to say earlier. So as far as the budget surplus in Utah, we had something. We started the year with something like $2 billion. This was back in 2023 numbers, $2 billion of surplus, whereas a lot of other states are don't have as much of a fiscal strength as Utah does. I was looking
Right.
at U.S. News and World Report. They were like the #1 state for fiscal health, according to them.
We
So
can't
yeah,
say
they've got a
that.
lot of great things going for them, and and as far as negatives go, that I still think compared to a lot of other major cities, it's still just a great place to live.
So it's kind of interesting you brought up that the housing prices doubled, and I think people only feel like that happened here, but I think it happened everywhere across the
Yeah,
United States because of COVID and just the migration of people being able to work remotely and all of that. A lot of people left the state because of that. So I
yeah.
think that's interesting. And then tell me about the wages there. So the minimum wage, actually, I don't know what the actual minimum wage is here, but the minimum wage for restaurant workers only just went up to $20.
Oh, wow. Okay.
California, and it's slated to go up to $25. And it's kind of interesting because it's only restaurant workers. Like it's
Okay.
not the whole minimum wage.
Yeah.
So do you know what the minimum wage is there? I'm just kind of curious.
I'm actually not sure what the minimum wage
Okay.
is because there is no wage. Like if you offer minimum wage, you probably wouldn't get anybody to
Right.
come to, I mean, if you're looking for a fast food job or something like that. As an example, my daughter just went to college at University of Utah for the summer. She was working just at Jersey Mike's, and I think she started at $15 an hour. So
Okay. So
yeah,
it's fairly high there then
yeah,
too. Okay. It's just
yeah,
interesting because I know a lot of people, I see a lot of people on the Leaving California page say, they're going to leave because of the cost of living, but sometimes people don't understand, you might leave and go somewhere else, but then the wages are lower.
yeah,
Even though the housing prices are lower, the wages are lower. So you're in
yeah.
the same position that you were here. So it's kind
So
of
I just
kind of
looked it up.
interesting.
So Utah
Okay.
is 7.25. Sorry,
Wow.
7.25 an hour. Yeah, but you won't find any business offering 7.25 an hour. They wouldn't get anybody even calling
Yeah,
them.
I wouldn't think so. That's crazy. So I think
Yeah,
that might be the federal minimum wage. That's interesting. So
yeah,
they
that's
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I think that is the federal, and so Utah probably just matches that. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. And then how about property taxes? How does that work there? So here, it's 1% of the sales price. So whatever you purchase your home at, it's 1%. And then some areas have mellow roofs, so there's more taxes tacked on top of that. So is it a percentage or how does it work?
yeah. So um, it is a percentage, but it's also it varies by city, and or actually by county. Um, and it's basically, it's typically works out to anywhere from 0.85 to 1%,
Okay.
of the value. Um,
Oh, of the
so
value. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So in Utah, um, you can get a homeowner exemption for which basically gives you a reduced amount of taxable reduced taxable value. So it reduces the taxable value by 45%. So that saves a lot for a
Oh,
primary
wow.
residence in Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In addition to that, there's some benefits for like for disabled veterans. They can actually get an exemption for up to, it's close to 500,000. It's like 475,000 or something like that of taxable value. So
Okay.
yeah, so it actually works out to be after that, it works out for a primary residence, you're at anywhere from 0.85 to 1%, um, of the, you know, of the value of the home. So
So is it reassessed every year?
it is reassessed every year. Yeah. And you
Okay.
can challenge that as well. That's one thing I help my clients do is challenge taxes if they feel like it's gone up too high. Um, if they're just trying to get it lower, but the value is actually higher, then I counsel people against challenging it because I actually have seen it before where, we challenged it and it's gone up. So
Yeah, don't open
you,
that can of
yeah, you
worms.
don't want to open that can of worms. If you've got a good deal, just stick with your good deal.
Right. Exactly. So that's kind of interesting. So then I would think I don't know. I guess you could look at it either way, but I feel like if California keeps our tax situation the way it is, it's actually beneficial to us, even though the prices are higher, because some people bought their homes when they were $100,000, right?
Mm,
And now
yeah,
they're worth 2 million. So they're talking about right now doing away with Prop 13, which keeps
oh,
it at 1%, which would absolutely devastate our housing market because those
yeah,
people that bought their homes at 100,000, 500,000, or a million, even if they were reassessed at $2 million or whatever the house is worth now, I mean, they couldn't pay their taxes.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's kind of
that's
an
crazy.
interesting dilemma. Are you guys having any problems there with homeowners insurance? So here, a lot of people are getting their policies canceled. They're being told that if they don't put a new roof on or replace all of their electrical, if the home is old, that they'll cancel their policy. So we're seeing a lot of issues during escrow right now where we're having to scramble and go to all these, no name brokers to try to
Uh-huh.
find homeowners insurance for people. Are you guys seeing any of that there?
Fortunately not, no. The only time I've really heard about issues with getting insurance is if there is a house that has had a particularly high claim. So there's one I'm thinking about from like 4 or 5 years ago that had an $85,000 claim because there was a pipe break and they were out of town and they've 4 months of water in the basement.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it was like an $85,000 water claim. That home's
Okay.
uninsurable, and I think that's pretty much across the country, something like that. But
Yeah.
aside from that, unless you're like in a FEMA floodplain, something like that, then yeah, I haven't really heard of any issues with insurance around
Okay.
here.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
So
if,
talk to
if
us
we if we
about,
have a major earthquake, then maybe that'll change.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So talk to us about the weather there because we know, well, from living here, I mean, the weather, even though we like to complain about it and it's raining today and I'm like, ooh, it's winter,
Yeah,
we don't have any crazy, really crazy weather here. So what is it like there right now in the
yeah.
winter, summer, all that?
So right now, I mean, I went to the gym this morning and I wore shorts. Okay,
Okay.
it's about it was a little below 30 this morning, I believe.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but you kind of get used to it, honestly. And here's the thing about Utah. So yeah, it does have winter and summer, right? It has 4 seasons, which is
Okay.
great. If you like the colors in the fall and but you get into those colder temperatures and it's actually not that bad because our humidity is so low. We'll
Oh,
have
okay.
like 15 to 20% humidity, um, and the colds don't feel that cold, the hots don't feel that hot. We only have you know last year I think was an exception, but usually we got just a handful of days, maybe less than 10 days over 100. um, and even when it's that hot, again, it's just such a dry climate, and that humidity makes such a huge difference. I've gone to
Yeah.
Orlando in the winter, and surprisingly, Orlando, it was colder, like just strict temperature wise than it was here, but the humidity made it so cold.
Yeah.
And I got back here and it's just, I mean, yeah, it's like 30 degrees, but I wear shorts to the gym. So
It does make a big difference
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
How often does it snow there?
Well, that depends on the year, and it
Okay.
depends on El Nino and La Nina.
Yeah. Yeah.
So last year we got just it was constantly dumping, but actually mostly up in the mountains. The snow was where it belongs, as I like to say, because I love snow in the mountains. I don't love shoveling snow, I'll be honest,
Yeah.
but yeah, not too often. I mean, I look outside right now, and I mean, there's no snow on the ground. So, and
Okay.
we haven't had any snow on the ground on this side of the mountain for a while. But you go up to the ski resorts, and there's snow up there. People are skiing and snowboarding and everything
Okay.
up there right now. So yeah,
Interesting. I thought you guys had snow like all winter.
no, there's been nothing for the past month, really.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, as far as something that's sticking on the ground on this side of the mountain. So a lot of the ski resorts are going to be on the other side of the mountain or in the canyons. So
Okay.
yeah,
Gotcha.
because this is kind of the sun side of the mountains, so the snow doesn't stick quite as much. So, but yeah, looking out the window, yeah, there's just not really much snow on this side of the mountain. So,
Okay. What
but
about I see a lot of this on the Leaving California Facebook group. What about Mexican restaurants or just restaurants in general? How is it? I know it was a while ago when you lived here, but
yeah,
what's the difference? What can you expect moving from here to there?
well, so there's definitely not the diversity of restaurants and culture stuff that you'd find in California, for example. Um, but there are some good restaurants around, right? You just kind of have to, talk to people and find out, hey, where are the good spots? But yeah, it's not like California where you've got, you know, probably 20 different ethnic restaurants within a 2-mile radius that you can go check out.
Right. Right. It is
So
different. I notice
yeah,
that whenever I travel around the United States, I'm like,
yeah,
I can't
yeah,
wait to go home. Just
yeah.
to restaurants are amazing here. So
But I will tell you, I mean, they have some phenomenal restaurants, and if you just talk to people and get the secrets, then you can find some good places to eat.
yeah.
Um, as far as diversity goes, you're gonna have more diversity in the big cities, just like anywhere, and also around Hill Air Force Base. Just the nature of military bases, you have a lot of people from all walks of life coming in and out, and so there's going to be more diversity around something like that as well. But
Okay.
one other thing I would like to mention about Utah in general is how clean it is, and I mean, just this past year, we took a trip to Europe and went around a few different cities, and in some of the cities, and I won't call anybody out, but in some of the cities, I was surprised at how much trash
Mhm.
and just filth was around. And then you really appreciate it when you walk down the downtown streets of Salt Lake City, and it's just everything's just pristine. So it's
Awesome.
so yeah, it's so clean, and um, it's refreshing after traveling to some other cities.
So what is the homeless situation there? Is
I mean, it always surprises me that you have a homeless population anywhere it's cold. Because if I was homeless, I think I'd probably I'd
right.
probably head out to
Figure out how to
California
get
where it's
somewhere
warm.
warm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, we've got our homeless you know situation as well, just like everywhere. Um, like in Salt Lake City, it's mostly kind of on the west side towards the freeway where they have some of the homeless shelters and things like that. Um,
Okay.
but it's not something that like I don't like drive around and see tent cities or anything like that.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, so
Okay.
it's not to the level that I've seen in some cities.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you feel like Californians are perceived when they move there? Like, is
Well,
there a stigma? Is there a keep your, what do people say? Don't California or Utah or whatever? Or are they welcomed? What's the perception?
yeah, no, honestly, I mean, I'm just gonna throw a number out here. Half of the people are from California already anyway, so
Okay, interesting. So they fit
so they're
right
like, oh,
in.
you finally got out. No,
Right, right, exactly.
sorry. For those watching, it's nothing disparaging about California. It's just
No,
I
it's
just yeah,
yeah.
I love. So when I moved to Utah, there was three things that brought me here. One is everything was so family oriented. As you can imagine, with the predominant church in the area,
Hmm.
it's really family focused. So that was one thing. The other thing was the recreation, and then the third thing was the cost of living. Everything was so much cheaper, especially houses.
Okay.
We sold our house in Manteca, California,
Hmm.
and I think it was a 2,400 square foot, two-story home. We sold it for 570, and then we came out here and bought let's see, 5,300 square foot home for 425.
Wow. And how long ago was that?
That was back in 2006.
Okay.
Yeah,
But still, I mean, yeah, you got double,
yeah.
more than double the house.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, and not only that, but we're up on the hill. We got had a view of the Salt Lake, and so yeah, it's it's definitely houses were a lot cheaper, and then everything was a little bit cheaper. And anytime I travel, that's I'm reminded of that because you'll go out to a restaurant or something like that. It's like, oh wow, a beverage is $4 instead of $2.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
wow, the prices of everything right now just
yeah.
skyrocketed. How much is a gallon of gas there? Do you know off the top?
Um, oh gosh, you asked me a tough question.
Do you have an
I drive
electric car?
I drive an electric car, so I
Okay, me
don't,
too. Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure it's like around
Oh my God. Okay.
$3. I
So
think my son was saying
double,
something about $3. Yeah.
more than double here. I mean, down by the
Oh wow.
airport, maybe a month ago, down by the airport, it was over $7.
Oh wow.
So I'm seeing it, like I have an electric car too, but I know I just kind of track it as I'm driving by, and I
Okay.
think it's around right around $6 right now.
Okay.
So
Got it.
yeah, that's insane. Oh my
Well,
God.
back in 2003, I might have mentioned this to you before. I ran for governor of California.
Oh
So
no. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So if they had elected me, then maybe I could have done something. No, I'm just kidding.
Right? Well, maybe you need to run again. Good Lord, please.
Uh, remember the big recall election with Schwarzenegger in
Yeah.
2003? Yeah. So I was on the ballot.
How funny. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's so
Me
cool. Please come
maybe
back.
four other people.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So tell us, what's the best way to reach you if somebody wants to move to that area or is just interested in the area in general to try to figure out where they want to move?
Well, I think the best way is just to give Cherie a call, and
There you go.
Cherie can connect us. So
I can
um,
do that
yeah, because
for sure.
I tell you, one of the things that Cherie and I really like to do is network with other agents around the country, and that's a huge part of our business. And I mean, not only Utah, but if you're looking to move anywhere and you're trying to figure, out, hey, who do I talk to? Cherie can connect you with somebody great. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I
yeah,
do. I run a nationwide referral network. So if anybody wants to be connected with an agent nationwide or actually globally, you can reach out and I'll put my cell phone number out there 760-917-1174. And Kevin, thank you so much for
yeah,
being on
absolutely.
today. I learned a ton. I don't know anything about Salt Lake, or I didn't, but now I do. So thank you. I really appreciate it. And for our listeners, I would just remind you, please do your due diligence, do your homework before you move. Don't get angry and move and regret your move. We want everybody to be happy wherever they land. And this podcast and the Leaving California Facebook page are hopefully a good resource for you guys to be able to, get on the forum and ask questions. And we'll be doing more of these interviews. And if you have anybody that you would like to see interviewed, please reach out to me and I will get them on. But thank you so much, Kevin. I hope you have a great day.
Yeah, thanks, you as well.
Okay, take care.